I served as a U.S. Navy corpsman. I was lucky enough to secure a job, my dream job as a firefighter paramedic. I served 25 years as a firefighter paramedic. I ran a station.
You helped with 9/11 response, you said?
Well, I lost a very dear friend, and we went down there to help as best we could. They subsequently started sending people away, but everybody that could help was showing up.
You were pursued by a few campaigns. What is it that stood out to you about Donald Trump that made you want to dedicate a lot of your time to him?
This guy is here for the real deal, for the real reason. He's not in it for fame. He's not in it for fortune. He's got that already. He doesn't need publicity, and I like to think I'm a good judge of character. And after 4 months of pursuit, trying to get me to sign on to the campaign, I finally came to the realization that he is the real deal, that he has the country's best interest at heart. He wants this country strong again. He wants to take care of veterans. He wants to take care of cops, firemen. He wants to take care of the elderly. He wants to get us back on the road to be the strength that we were, for so many years.
How's he going to do these things? How's it going to help veterans? How's he going to help the economy specifically?
Well, he's come out with some white papers. He's released some stuff. It's on his website, donaldjtrump.com. You can read his policy stuff on that. Look what just happened today with the presidential executive order. I mean, Second Amendment rights are huge, especially to the people in New Hampshire and my constituents. My phone and my emails have been blowing up all day about this. Mr. Trump is a very strong supporter of Second Amendment rights, and he has the people around him. I like to tell people the best generals we've had in this country have been the best delegators and have had the best people surrounding them, and he has the best people surrounding him. Not that he's not one of the best people on the planet to get us back on track. So it's going to be a team effort, and this guy's got the team to get the job done.
You mentioned the Second Amendment. Are you aware in 2000 he was for an assault weapons ban and he was for expanding background checks?
Yep, and I'm also aware I was a Democrat in a past life, and we all can change our opinions. We all can come around and see the light. And he's seen the light, and he is a pro-Second Amendment supporter.
Well, my question is, has he seen the light, or is he doing what he rails against, which is politics, kind of moving as he sees fit to get elected?
I like to say my BS meter's pretty well tuned, and he's not fooling me. He's the real deal. What he says is what he means. His policy is what he means, and he stands by his word.
So we were talking about some issues you care about. Obviously, a huge issue is the economy. This is according to him, he's worth $10 billion. So he hasn't really been on the ground with like the average working Joe most of the time. He's also admitted to being a crony capitalist. He, bought off the elected officials when he was a businessman. He's very boastful about that. I did what I had to do. What's not to make us think for the average American that he's essentially going to give tax cuts to the wealthy?
I'm a regular guy. I'm a fireman. I'm a common hose dragger that Mr. Trump wanted to chair his campaign along with Representative Stepanak. He gets it. The man gets it.
His tax plan, Tax Policy Center suggests, is going to cost about $10 to $11 trillion over 10 to 20 years. It also says that in the first year, people in the top 0.01% of society economically are going to get $1.3 million in tax cuts, but people at the bottom rung would get a couple $100 savings. Do you think that's kind of George W. Bush politics, trickle-down economics? Because that doesn't sound like it's going to help the average firefighter.
Well, I'm not going to judge his policy because I like his policy, and people are going to have to read it and judge for themselves.
But that's his policy. It cuts taxes for the wealthy and lesser so for middle-class people.
Cuts taxes for everybody, and we have to have a plan. We have to go forward.
No, but I know it cuts taxes for everybody, but it's disproportionately toward the wealthy.
I don't believe that to be the case, but I don't doubt what you're saying, that you've heard.
If that is the case, would you feel as strongly for him, since you're representing the average Joe fireman, and at least his plan, if that's accurate, is kind of more geared towards people already making a lot of money?
Yeah, I don't read the plan that way, so okay. Yeah.
Let me ask you, money in politics is a big issue. Mr. Trump has, railed against Jeb Bush, and, he's a puppet for the master donors, this and that. For the average American, if a billionaire becomes president, why would they think that he's not going to just perpetuate that? Obviously, he doesn't need the money from the donors, but why would an average American think he could really relate to the average firefighter or middle-class person?
Look around you right now. You see any billionaires in this line 2 hours prior to an event? These people believe in the man, believe he can get the job done, and that's what's most important.
But I'm talking about people who aren't here who he's trying to attract. Why should they trust him? He's been in his ivory tower on Fifth Avenue for many years. He had a $1 million loan from his father that most people don't get. So why should the average American trust he's going to be out for the middle class worker and not just make the rich richer?
Which he paid back to his father with interest.
Yeah.
And built his empire.
Thanks for saying that.
Yeah. I think he will appeal once people listen to the message. I can only speak to my constituency. When I speak to people about Mr. Trump and his issues and what he's going to do for us, the majority of them get it. I'm not saying they're all supporters, but they understand his perspective, they understand my perspective in support of him, and I hope more people come on board as far as that fact.
He's made some statements in the past that obviously made him a polarizing figure. Namely, he kind of got on the national political scene questioning the president's being an American. Do you think somebody who doesn't kind of recognize the current president as American and now won't talk about it anymore has the values to be president?
It's not for me to speak to that. That's for Mr. Trump to speak to.
Do you think President Obama was born in America?
It's not for me to speak to. It's not for me to speak to. I'm not going to answer that one.
Not even a yes or no? You don't believe he was born in Hawaii?
That's my understanding. He was born in Hawaii.
So you do think he was born in America then?
Yeah. Yeah.
And last question, these comments he's made that have gotten him under hot water, you know, Mexican immigrants are drug lords, rapists, obviously now the temporary ban he's proposed. Do you think that this falls under the, premises of enough with the political correctness, or he's adding fuels to the fire and, kind of making minority people feel persecuted?
No, what he is doing is he's putting American lives first. It's enough with the political correctness on a lot of issues, but most specifically, American lives should be first and foremost. The visa program's broken. We need to vet these people, screen these people better. We need to fix the system. He's called for a temporary moratorium, and that's what should happen. We need to protect your family, my family, these people's family.
For a person not radicalized, though, abroad yet, if they see an ad with a leading candidate saying no Muslims allowed in America, doesn't that have a potential to radicalize them?
I don't buy that argument at all. No. People can think for themselves.
Okay. And
by the way, I have friends that are Muslims, and they think for themselves.
And if Mr. Trump doesn't make it, who else would you vote for in the Republican establishment?
I don't know. I'd support the Republican candidate. That's for sure.
Give me not a Bush, not a Christie.
I'm not going to give you a name. I believe Mr. Trump's going to be our candidate. I'm going to work hard and continue to work hard for Mr. Trump because I believe in the man and I believe he's going to do well for our country.